To be honest with you, I don't stay true to myself sometimes. I think if I were to say staying true to myself, that would mean saying no more. And that would mean putting myself first in a way that protects my energy, putting measures in place that can like still make the opportunity worthwhile, still allow me to take that opportunity, but not at the expense of like my mental health or like my just sense of depletion.
One, two, three, four.
What's good, fellas?
What's up? What's up? What's up?
How y'all living? How y'all living, man?
Man, I'm blessed. I'm feeling good.
Mm.
I'm out in the Caribbean.
You living that
Complain.
vacation lifestyle, man.
For real, for real. It hit me when I was on the plane. I just came back from DC.
Mm.
And it's interesting getting on the plane with a bunch of people that are going on vacation. And I'm going to the place where I live, but it's interesting, like all the conversations you hear and all the excitement. And it just puts a lot of stuff in perspective around it's like being able to be mobile, being able to, I don't know, create an alternative lifestyle, I like to say.
Did it give you a specific appreciation for an area of your life maybe you weren't aware of like before? Or like you are living a different lifestyle compared to most people, if we're going to be real.
Yeah.
So I'm curious.
Yeah, it doesn't come without its challenges, but what I had to like, the thing that I looked at was like, man, if I look back in my notebook and like my vision of the things that I just wrote about, the things that like, if I ain't had no money, what would I be doing? And like Jamaica was on that list and I got money. You know what I mean? But what was cool about it was like, God, he'll put you in your vision. But when you think about when you're thinking about vision, you see something, you're not really seeing the bumps. You're not seeing the discomfort in it. You're seeing the ideal version of your vision, right? When you have an idea or you have a plan. And so I had to sit back and realize, okay, what I'm in isn't perfect in terms of like certain things that I want to go a certain way, or like our living situation isn't as ideal as I want it to be, but I'm here, we're living, we're going through the process, and like I'm living in the vision. It's just parts of it are uncomfortable. And so I just applied that to business and other areas of my life to think that, oh shit, okay, what we've actually spoken or the intention and manifestations that we've said, we could be in, but they just don't seem clean as we envision them to be at the end state. And so I was on a plane, just, oh shit, like this is real. I'm in it. You know what I mean?
I want to follow up on that just because going back to what you were just saying around like vision, right? Typically we do start off thinking that we only attain our vision if it perfectly happens the way we saw it or the way we probably wrote it out in our journal. But like you were just talking, there's those bumps, there's those mistakes, there's those experiences with failure. And so I guess I'm just curious, can you share a time where you had to forgive yourself for a mistake that you made along this journey of beginning to living your vision?
Lord Jesus. To be honest, man, that's a journey I'm still working on. You know what I mean? I think a lot has been revealed, especially with the birth of my son. And I moved away from the Bay Area. And after being somewhere stationary for 10, 11 years, kind of uprooting myself, going to another country, living with a woman for the first time for real, having a baby, all those things, and then being away from community, I had a lot of time to just reflect on a lot of different things. And I've had to get into the process of forgiving myself for just being hard on myself, not giving myself grace, being like too much of my worst enemy or worst critic, allowing thoughts that may not be true or stories I might have attached myself to, and allowing those to affect my emotions. And now that I've been in a space of like understanding through therapy, going through emotional healing retreats and doing like the work for real to try to navigate some of that mud, now I'm in the process of, what does true forgiveness look like for yourself daily? So that we all have regrets. We all have things in hindsight 2020 that you wish you might have done something a little differently or said something differently or said something at all. And it's the past. All you can do is move forward and keep it 100 from then on out. But yeah, I'm on a daily practice of forgiveness. but also being proud that I am moving forward and keeping my head high. You know what I mean?
That's beautiful, man. We gotta swap some notes. I'm wondering, like, some of those retreats that you mentioned, if you can send them over, because I've been trying to get better at practicing self forgiveness and just get better at mental health in general. It's a whole other conversation we can go down, but yeah,
Yeah.
we'd love to learn about your journey in that regard for sure.
Oh, man, I do the work.
Hey, no, hold on. He's not capping here, folks. He's
Oh
not.
yeah.
Yeah, I'll send you down some holes. You might not like what you find down there, but I'll send you down them.
I appreciate that, man. Before we dive too deep into it, though, bro, I think we need to introduce who we talking to, bro. Because a lot of podcasting shows, whenever they have a guest, they be like, "Oh, we got a special guest. We got a special guest." We never really have guests. It's always just me, you, and Rodney kicking game between the three of us.
Yep.
So today we really do have a special guest and somebody who I personally been really looking forward to talking with. And I've been a bit of a fanboy from a distance, really inspired by what you've been building. So I'm excited to dive into it. So yeah, Brian, I think we need to give the proper introduction so people know who they're getting ready to get the game from.
Nah, 100%. And I'm gonna kick it off by saying we're gonna do something different. Like here on Beat the Odds, we don't bring special guests, we bring special people. Yeah, we got a very special person here, man. I would say this is somebody that has been definitely a guiding star on like my journey. He's been a brother. Now we're business partners. And our story actually goes back to it was either 2016 or 2017. It was one of those years where literally I'm going to Airbnb to have lunch and meet up with somebody. I'm out in the Bay from Kansas, don't know what the hell I'm doing. And I didn't see no black folks, but I saw Warren. And Warren just happened to be sitting down. And so I just pull up on Warren and I'm like, hey, man, this is what I'm trying to do, etc. Long story short, he was like, hey, man, this is my first day too. And I remember we ended up just having a brief conversation, ended up connecting, man. But it was so genuine. And that moment actually was very special to me because that was the first time I actually had saw somebody black in tech, someone that looked like me, bro. And in a place like Airbnb, right? Like at one of these big tech companies doing this thing. And so for me, that was just very affirming of, okay, you're just not out here in the Bay just feeling alone. There are people like you out here. And yeah, as I started paying attention to what Warren's been up to, man, obviously we'll dive into some of the early career stuff. Yeah, I've just been extremely inspired by like how he's built his business, Toast to Life, which we're going to get into all the nitty gritties of that, man. But for a lot of the listeners knowing, guess what? You probably have attended a Toast to Life event. And also my man is bringing out the new series, Ecosystem Connect. And so all that to say, yeah, this is a brother who literally is a cultural legend. I'll keep it a stack. Like I wouldn't have met my best friend, Jamie, if it wasn't for Toast to Life. Like I'm gonna keep it a stack like Dre, Rodney, I would even say Mark. Despite us meeting in LA, we really got close during that Afrotech weekend, going to the Toast to Life event, the Fade event. And so I've just had very special moments and connections with this brother. And the fact that we've been able to continue to evolve over the last 7 years, man, I'm just deeply gracious, man. And so hopefully that did what it needed to do, brother. How you feeling?
Man.
So yeah, I would have thought you read that. What's leaving that out? Come on. That was cool, man.
Nah, man. That was that Lil Wayne straight off the dome.
Man, that was nice. That was nice. I appreciate that. For real, that's love.
Yeah. And so I guess let's go ahead and kick off the conversation, man. So first question, man. Yeah, just start by telling us just a little bit about like where you grew up. What was early life like for you?
Yeah, man. My parents divorced when I was 5. I always like to start off with that because I think it's important to speak on childhood experiences and how they can shape an individual. And what that did for me, why I bring that up, is my dad remained in Atlanta. My mom got a job at, I believe it was Johnson in Jersey. So she took me to Jersey. It was far from my dad. And I don't really remember like all of the hoopla around the divorce and all that stuff. But what it did was my mom had to move around a lot in Jersey. I was in a different school maybe every year, a different city, different part of New Jersey, at least the first 4 or 5 years while we were there, while she was trying to figure it out and navigate different opportunities as a single mom. And it was really what I didn't know, but I feel like it shaped me to be able to adapt very quickly with change and also be able to meet and integrate with friends or new people very easily. And I think that has held true to me as an adult as well. But yeah, man, Jersey boy, was in Jersey City for probably the majority of my adolescence and then moved out to Somerset, not too far from Princeton. So I'm not a hub boy. I ain't gonna claim to be a hub boy. I'm not even gonna say
You wasn't no Newark?
I wasn't in the streets. I ain't even gonna cap. But like the city urban life is very different than moving out to like the suburbs in Princeton. It's the contrast of those. And our church was in Jersey City. So I was still going every Sunday to the city. But my parents, my mom and my stepdad, they joke about it. They're always like, I don't even know if what we did to you was even like safe. Like our parents want the best for us. So oftentimes the best for us to them means putting us in the best school system. But a lot of times that is like very dangerous psychologically, especially when you are automatically being thrown into an environment that isn't culturally diverse or inclusive. And I went through experiences where I was like, what, three of us in my class of Black folks out of a couple hundred white students. And so yeah, I definitely had my share of homies drawing nooses on the notebooks and Confederate flags on the back pickup trucks and calling me the N-word. I got suspended. Little stuff like that. But it's wow, okay. That set me up to go to Morehouse. All black, HBCU. And I always feel like all the steps are ordered for you to be able to have the experiences that you need to have that define and shape who you show up as an adult. Yeah, that's my early days. Jersey, man, a lot of time in the ATL. That's my second home.
Were you intentional about going to a HBCU? Considering like your experience of going from the city to like going to the suburb and experiencing that, were you like, there's no way I'm going to a PWI, like I'm HBCU only. Were you intentional like that, or was it just a matter of exposure? Or like, how did you land on Morehouse?
Yeah, it was the college tour experience that my mom took me on. So we went to a few PWIs. We went to, I think, 2 or 3 HBCUs. I think I'm just an intimate kind of guy. And so the thing that stuck out to me was like, we went to Penn State. I had gotten into Penn State, I think, or applying to Penn State. And I went there and it was like, no one was greeting. No, it was no energy. It was no like, it felt like, oh shit, okay, I'm going to be like 1 in 1,000 in this classroom. I'm already not a great student, so I'm definitely not going to class.
And Penn State is huge.
Yeah, yeah. So I got all types of learning obstacle things. And so I was like, if I'm in a class in size and I ain't getting one-on-one attention or some sort of like accountability, I ain't going. I'm not even going to graduate. Let me just like put that out there first. And then so secondly, I went to Atlanta and went to Georgia Tech because I was interested in this. They had a 3-2 program where you could do 3 years, 2 years, get your core courses done at the local state college. And then you could do the architecture program and go to Georgia Tech. Anyway, pull up to Georgia Tech. I see this Black brother walking down the street and I'm like, I ain't getting no head nod, no nothing. And it was just like, it was just like crazy. I was just looking for some sort of recognition, right? And then as soon as I stepped on Morehouse campus, man, I know that this is definitely obviously a part of their recruitment process, but I appreciated the fact that they were like, yo, what's up, King? You know what I mean? Welcome to the house. You know what I mean? It was like, they was giving that energy and like the class sizes was like, 30-1 to the teacher. And I was just like, okay, this feels like me. This just feels like my high school environment, just Black folk. And I was like, cool, this is love. I feel like I can really do this. And then the last thing I'll say is they have this gala called Candle in the Dark that they do every year. That's their fundraiser. And
This is at Morehouse?
this is at Morehouse, yeah, and they have a bunch of corporate donors and sponsors and everything, and it's like a black tie affair. So my mom used to take me to that because Johnson was a sponsor, and so this is where the exposure comes into play. But what stuck out to me about this event is that they would have current students, go up on stage and do oration speeches, and the way they orated themselves as Black men was so confident, was so profound, and I was just like, oh man, if anything, I want to be like them. Yeah.
Had you seen a Black man like show up that way before in your life, or was that kind of like a culture shock for you?
Nah, the only man I would say showed up that way was like my stepdad because he's a pastor. He was always in front of the congregation, like spitting that gospel. But other than that, like it's rappers and Martin Luther King. You know what I mean? So yeah. I ain't never seen like kid like a young man in a full blown suit really spitting that fire in a poem form or
So
something.
you saw yourself being that.
Yeah, yeah. I was like, I'm gonna be up on that stage or something. Yeah.
So I'm curious, after being at Morehouse and being exposed to so many different type of men that look like you, that are doing incredible stuff, probably doctors, lawyers, probably all different type of professions. What was your vision for yourself after you were leaving Morehouse? Did you have a particular journey that you wanted to go down, or were you out there fumbling around? What was your mindset post Morehouse?
Man, I'm gonna be honest with you. I had no plan. I didn't know what I was gonna do. I'm a very like intuition based person. I have like large visions of the spaces that I want to be in and explore in. But to say that I had it all written out step by step, definitely not that kind of person. And I wasn't that great at school, right? I was a 5-year student instead of a 4-year. So I was supposed to get out 2010, got out 2011. I'm gonna blame it on Spelman. I'm just gonna keep it a buck. Um, I was in the fashion shows. I was just doing a lot. I was socially building my chops the way that I feel like you're supposed to do in college. And I was doing just enough in my academics to make sure that I wasn't like failing, you know what I mean? But academia was never like my thing for real. I enjoyed the things that I enjoyed, and the things that I didn't enjoy, if I ain't buy into it, I wasn't fucking with it. And so I had to work a little bit harder to get through school for the things that like I wasn't that great at, like accounting and just classes that I just was like, yo,
Yeah.
I'm a creative. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, after school, I leaned into the advertising world. I got an opportunity to enter this competition, and I was like, man, advertising would be great for our school. And I tried to create this ad club on campus for my last year. And that's what really sparked a lot of stuff in me. At the same time, I was trying to pledge. And so I realized that how would I say it? I'm objective driven. If I have an end goal in mind and I can see what I want, like my attitude adjustment will change. And so for me, that reward was like, okay, I want to make line. So I got to get my GPA to a certain level. So then I will buckle up, man. And then I was like, oh shit, I want to do this ad club. So my network got to be tight. I want to politic with all the teachers and try to figure out how to get this shit on the ground. So anyway, long story short, that really propelled me to get up my first opportunity outside of school. And it just happened to be an internship in New York. And I was working at this advertising agency that took me to India for 3 months, where I was living in India by myself, first international trip by myself.
What was that? That's a whole different world.
It changed my life. It was one of those landmark moments where it was just like, okay, wow, this is the world for real.
What do you mean the world for real? Yeah. What do you mean when you say that?
I was about to say, it's coming from America. We have a privileged understanding of what life really is. And so when you see other cultures and other societies, like you can really see the gap when it comes to like gratitude and happiness, because you have the majority of their country is like impoverished, but they're like very happy. Some people are really, really struggling, but you can see, okay, when they have like basic things, they all have like family, they're eating food, they're hanging out, they're like sharing joy together. But then obviously you see the wealth gap where you see like rich Indian folks that are like, okay, living life a little bit differently, but the majority of the country is the same. So it made me look at like our community and the Black community. And it's just, we oftentimes don't have a lot of that joy because we're stuck having to see so many other opportunities that we don't get access to make a better life for ourselves. And it feels like it's right across the street versus the rest of the community all in the same thing. But yeah, man, that was a really eye-opening like experience for me. And I was working at an ad agency there, and then found my way out to California, to San Francisco, working at an agency called Goodby Silverstein and Partners. They were the people that did Got Milk.
Oh, nice.
I remember having those in the school, actually, in wherever PE
everywhere.
would take place.
Yeah. And
That's dope.
you remember the NBA finals commercials where they did the split joint and they had Kobe and Shaq, and they'll do like,
Yep.
they did those commercials too. So I ended up getting to work on some cool stuff. I worked on the NBA. That was their client, Chevy and like YouTube or something like that. So I was learning a lot, and that was the start of my journey professionally, at least out of college.
Got you. So I'm really curious because I know eventually you ended up going to Apple. And so it's even just crazy hearing you talk about, one, you're intuition driven. I'm like, you have quite the intuition, because it seems like it's led your life pretty good so far. And then the second thing too is to hear that as a student, you were honest. Like, it wasn't like you were studying super hard, et cetera, but you still were doing things that were moving your life in the right direction. And so I think a lot of students nowadays, especially with me being on a college campus, like they underestimate the power of relationships
Mm.
and overemphasize like the books, especially at the school at Northwestern. And so I think that story that you just told was extremely powerful. But can you walk us through your journey from working at Apple and Airbnb to starting Toast to Life?
Yeah, for sure. Starting that ad agency was like the catalyst to a lot because it's dovetailed me into diversity and inclusion work. And that was why I was a big part of the agency starting out, was because they were looking to establish diversity initiatives. They were getting a lot of slack from the government or just people just talking about how the industry is not inclusive. And this is around the time, like it went from the media and advertising industry to then like tech. I don't know if you guys remember when Al Sharpton was knocking on Jesse Jackson, they were going to the big corporate offices like, yo, show me your numbers. What's going on? Why aren't you hiring our people? So that same stuff was going around in the ad industry. Is there was a big push for that. And a lot of my early work started off in that realm. And so I actually got let go, which is a crazy story. I got let go from the ad industry because I removed myself from being a brand strategist, which was a client billable hour. And I went to the overhead of the agency to be starting their diversity initiative in the HR function. And so as soon as I wasn't client billable anymore, they lost that account. They had to trim the fat. And usually, like most, how it goes is you trim the diversity initiatives. Yeah. And you get back to what's going to run the business. And so I actually lost that gig, but God would have it was that Apple was starting an internal ad agency themselves for their marketing communications division. And I got tapped to help source talent for Apple's marketing communication division. And pretty much it was a 3-month contract. I got it extended to 6 months within the first 3 weeks because like I was just in there getting it, like really going for it. And then during that opportunity, I met Apple's head of inclusion and diversity that had just been brought on. And so I met him, and really what I was doing was, as I was going to different tech companies' diversity events, I would write a little report and send it to him without him even asking. And then I was just like, hey, Jeffrey, you should be aware of this. This is stuff that Apple could be doing. I was just like being helpful, like being resourceful, right? And long story short, he just kept, hey, you want to grab lunch? And started picking my brain, and I was building a relationship. And then I was trying to get this full time at Apple. Like I was still a contractor. Like I'm not getting the healthcare that I want, and all these things. So I went over to Google, got a job opportunity there, took that back to Apple. Was like, I was like, what's up? I would love to stay here. You understand my position. And literally, bro, like it was crazy. Like that day or the day after, I got a call from the head of HR, Denise Young Smith. And she was like, what do you want to do? Do you want to stay on this? Do you want to stay on the diversity? Do you want to go to the diversity team, or do you want to stay in the marketing function? And I was just like, yo, I'm rocking with the diversity. Let me go build that team out. It's fresh, it's new. She was like, there's going to be travel involved. I was like, say less. That was like my first real entry into tech, man. It was like the largest salary I'd had at that point. They gave me stock, equity. I ain't understand none of that stuff. You know what I mean? Like I ain't even negotiate. I was like, yes. You know what I mean? So that's that, man. But prior to that point, we had started Toasted Life really because we needed like some social connection in the Bay. It was
What year was this?
This was 2013. This was like right before I got let go of the ad agency. Like I had started Apple that same year. But
what was that idea for Toasted Life? Do you remember like the moment where the idea sparked? Or was there like an initial idea, or was it like
it wasn't an initial idea, but what happened was, it's really crazy. A few of us from Spellhouse was in the Bay. Some people was working at Google, other people were doing other different things. But it was a crew of us, I would say maybe like 10 and some local people. And we would just do everything together. And we was following this one DJ around, DJ D Sharp, who's now the Golden State Warriors DJ. And he was the only one playing non-Bay Area music. So like anytime he would post where he was going to be, we would all link and go to that spot. It was like, yo, this is crazy. We all we used to do everything together. Go to Tahoe trips, Vegas trips, all of the whole thing. And so Matt and I usually would meet up on Sunday in Oakland, and we would grab like some whiskey or something like that and just kick it on the bench by the lake by Jack London. And I was remember telling him like, yo, I can't live like this. And he was like, what you talking about? I was like, man, I got all these ideas. I don't know what to do with them. I need to put them on something. And I was like, I need an exit plan. And I remember the day of the Super Bowl. When was it when Beyonce was performing? I think it was like the Ravens and the Niners and the
Mhm.
lights went out or something like that.
Yep, yep.
Literally right after that, he was like, yo, it was like, yo, there's this spot, there's this club that I want to go check out. Maybe we could do something there. We pulled up and was really just talking out of our ass. Was like, oh yeah, we did all these joints in Atlanta, house parties. It was crazy. And then, so anyway, like, homie just gave us a shot and we just threw a day party for free. We spent about $200 just between having a photographer and a DJ that we knew. It was like a Russian DJ. He just liked hip hop.
Wow.
For me to
That's
do,
crazy.
homie worked at YouTube or something that we knew
Hmm.
a mutual friend. And pretty much we just got our group and we centered the event around one of our homegirls was turning, I forgot, 25 at the time or something like that. And she was from LA and all her homies was going to be in town. And we just was like, yo, pull up to this joint. We're going to do a day party. And that's what started it. It was called Toasted. It was just called Toasted. That was it.
What was that initial response like, though? Did it ended up turning out to be packed? Was it empty and just the crew?
To this day, me and Matt argue about it, but I think it was like maybe like 70 people in a spot that could hold like 200 to 300. So it felt, but like,
There was some space.
you know, some
Yeah.
space. There was definitely some space, but like, it's kind of funny though, because like when I look back at those pictures, you got a young Chris Lyons in there. Like, you got a young couple homies that we just like, whoa, you know what I mean? It was like a few homies that I look back and I still talk to. That's just going on to do like a bunch of dope things, and it's just people were looking for something to be able to vibe with, and then literally like how we knew that we was on to something was the next one. We did one like maybe 2 months later. And for the first event, we knew probably like 80% of the people. And in the second one, we knew 20% of the people.
Oh,
And
wow.
that's when it was like, okay, word is spreading, something's happening, and people are looking to come and hear music that they probably can't find out here anywhere else.
Was your initial thought, or yourself and your co-founder, were you guys initially thinking about this as a side project? Like, all right, this is something we can do on the side. Were you thinking about it? Oh, we can turn this into a business, or did you even frame it as either of those at the beginning, or were you just wing it?
I was never, I think to me, it's always been about creative exploration and expression. That's what it was for me. And I've let the business side, let Matt handle. He's been the money guy. You know what I mean? That just was not my strong suit. And I wasn't really trying to have it be. I was just like, look, man, I know I can make a brand because that's my background. Like I know advertising, I know strategy. And so initially I would lie. I would be a lie if I said we had a whole clan and this is what it's going to be. But it was just like, nah, we can have fun outside of work. You know what I mean? And we could create something and it could be valuable. And it really wasn't until like maybe the third or fourth event where I was like, nah, we gonna do something with this. We gonna do something. It was like a nightclub event and we were supposed to be hosting for somebody. It was a spot called The Cellar. And it was our first nightlife joint. Man, we took over her entire situation. She was so vexed. She was so she was mad because like it was supposed to be, usually when you host something, you probably responsible for 20, 30 heads. We had 200 people outside in the line. And we had a Hummer outside. It wasn't even our Hummer. Somebody just pulled up and looked at some video. We're making movies. It was a whole thing. But that's when I was like, okay, yeah, we can get this shit lit.
How were y'all engaging the community at that point? Was it all through social, like just posting on IG? Was it just like because I remember being in the Bay. I don't know if it was around that time, but when I got there, people were adding me to like email lists to stay up to date on just like social things happening.
The group me.
Yeah, there were group me's. So
Yeah.
what was some of the methods you all were using to just build that community and just keep people tapped into what you all were doing?
I think the beautiful thing about it, honestly, was that it was organic and that it wasn't our primary business. Like, meaning that like we have full-time jobs. And the pressure to get people involved wasn't about, hey, do something for me or buy something from me. It was like, yo, let's link. let's chill. And I think that really paved the way for Toasted Life to just grow in the hearts and the minds of folks that were in the area, because there wasn't this sort of like transactional expectation around it. You know what I mean? Yo, this is the spot where you want to meet other people that are in tech doing really cool things, to have something. The vibes felt premium. They felt elevated. It wasn't like you was just going to go somewhere and you might be in danger or something like that. You know what I mean? It was like, nah, we still turning up. We having a good time, but like you're standing next to somebody that got a lot of bread, or you're standing next to a senior leader. You never know. And that was the cool thing about it. But some of the channels we was using, yeah, it was like it was an early Instagram account that we were like starting up. And then YBSF was a big channel for us too. I don't know, remember that email?
Yep.
Now, what is that?
Yeah, I was on that.
YBSF, it was Young Black San Francisco.
Oh,
Go ahead. Go ahead. I'll wait.
That was it. Okay.
Were you intentional? You mentioned like organically, like you had a young Chris Lyons in there and you had people pulling up with a Hummer. At some point in time, were you starting to be intentional about like curating the audience, like inviting certain people to the event? Or I understand that it was grown organically, but at some point in time, were you ever strategic around who you were trying to bring to those events for whatever reasons?
I would say 100% yes, but I feel like also it has a lot to do with me and Matt's charisma in terms of like us just being genuinely nice guys and good people to be around. Like I will wholeheartedly say that is the reason for our success, because like we're approachable and people like enjoy being around us. You know what I mean? Matt's a go-getter. He's very friendly. He's talkable. He's out. He's hanging with different types of people. Me, I'm an intimate guy. I'm building really intimate spaces with friends who are also talking about different things and inviting different. And I think that combination served us well, especially like still tapping into that group I told you about in the beginning, where we all did stuff together. That just naturally grew as more people moved to the Bay. And so that ended up actually being a strategy of ours when we went to other markets. We was just like, okay, we need to find that core group that can be ambassadors, if you will, to advocate for the vibe, advocate for us, Sam, if we're not in the room.
Talking about going to other markets, how has Toast to Life like evolved over time? What other markets are y'all now in after starting in the Bay?
Yeah, man. The first market we went to was Chicago. We did that about 3 or 4 years after we started. Have a really nice presence in Chicago. Los Angeles is a big market for us. We do about 4 or 5 events a year in Los Angeles. New York was heavy pre-pandemic. We got to pull back up there, but New York was cool. And then I would say like Atlanta and Miami are just like distant 4th and 5. But we've done like a lot of random things as well. Like we've pulled up and done like the Yale Harvard experience in Connecticut. Like we've done like the Stanford Black Fest, done Harvard the HBS conference. Like we've done.
Hold on. Y'all did Blackfest. Is that when Gunna? Did they have Gunna that year?
We didn't do Gunna. We did it like 3-4 years in a row. We did Metro Boomin, we did
Gotcha.
we did T-Pain, and we booked all of them for them. And that was cool. But yeah, man, we've done like Toronto, and then we used to do a lot of trips. So we would take 15 people over to Ghana, Tanzania, Kenya, and we would always activate on the ground and do parties out there for them as well. So we've definitely gotten around, but our main markets have been predominantly LA, the Bay, Chicago, and New York.
So I guess one of the questions I want to ask is, I just have found that people have a hard time thinking about markets. And it seems like the fact that you've been able to take the core product that started off as just a small group of people in the Bay and grow that across so many, you have a unique perspective on when it comes to markets. Yeah. What are you like? What's the cheat code there? Like, how do you decide or make that decision? Okay, we want to go here. And how do you have the confidence to guide your intuition to knowing that, okay, this is going to work out long term?
Yeah, it's not on no numbers thing. I'm not looking at like data to say, oh, a large percentage of our population is here, right? That's far to market size, but it really starts off of, okay, who are the type of people that we want to attract, and do we have connections to those individuals? And one, the way we assess a market is how much work do we need to do to be successful in this market? If we have somebody that already have a presence there that we're able to build with or collaborate with, that would probably be a priority versus us having to build from scratch where we have no connection. You know what I mean? So just for example, Salt Lake City is not a place that we're probably going to do regular events, but we have a partner out there that has a really nice base with Black and Latinx folks. And so we did a collab event like a month ago out there. And it was cool, like just to try it out and just see like what the vibe is going on. But that's usually where we look to make the decision is the matrix. It's like time investment, energy investment, and then like financial investment. And so when we were picking like Chicago, the reason that we picked that first was because we had a Spell House crew there. My homie Chrissy, my boy Maurice Moraine, and Bobby Christmas, and the three of them they were already doing house parties. We was just like, yo, why don't you guys, we'll contract you, we'll work out an agreement. And they helped spearhead our birth in that market. You know what I mean? And then the same thing happened in LA. So it's like network relationships and using them, you help and use them to your advantage. And then also just find the mutual interest to see what can they, obviously, how can they benefit? How can they gain? And what do they want in the opportunity?
How big is Toasted Life today? Like, how big is the team? How many events are you guys throwing annually? What can you
Yeah.
give us some insight into the scale of the business today?
Yeah. So we're running around, I would say 50 plus events a year. And they range from different sizes. Some are like 1,500 plus to networking events that are 150, 200 people to like a dinner that's for 20 people. So it just depends on what's going on and why we're doing it. But yeah, like to date, I know we've transacted with over 200,000 people. You know what I mean?
She
It's food for thought.
Crazy.
And in terms of an engaged community, I don't necessarily have those hard numbers, but people respond when we send something out, especially in the Bay Area for sure. It's like people activate, they come out and they want to be a part of what we're doing.
I'm curious, how would you describe Toasted Life today if somebody was to ask you, like, hey, what is it? How would you describe it today versus how did you describe it in the beginning? And has it changed at all? I know the business has evolved and the markets have evolved, but is the way that you and the vision and the way that you describe the business or just what you're doing, has that changed?
It's definitely changed because like in the early days, we was really calling it like a lifestyle brand, like for a long time. And obviously us experimenting and being young in business, we had the opportunity to try to do a lot of different things. And I think there's pros and cons to that. Like we got to see what worked and what didn't work. You guys are product guys, right? It's like you have to know the main thing, right? And what is the main thing that you're driving? And us experimenting a lot created this prestige of the brand and it created a lifestyle experience. The detriment to doing a lot of different things is that you fit too much under your umbrella. And internally at times it confused, what are we? If you ask maybe 10 different people what Toasted Life is or who Toasted Life is, they all might have positive answers. They're going to have positive answers, but they're probably all going to be different. You know what I mean? And so we were having to try to figure out like, all right, who are we? How do we position ourselves? And after being a lifestyle brand, it's still a lifestyle brand. The way I speak about it is more experiential media or experiential media company. So we produce events, social and professional, and we partner with brands to engage consumers of color.
So if you were to create a recipe for a experiential media brand, what would the ingredients be?
The recipe to create that, you're saying?
Yes.
I would say strong event operational capabilities, strong brand partnership and sales capability, and a strong brand, what do you call it? Brand identity. Those would be the three things I would say. Strong brand identity, strong events operational, brand and partnerships. And then obviously like you have to have a community flavor, right? You have to be one with community.
You gotta have that sauce.
You gotta have that sauce. You gotta know what's culture, what is culture and how to rock with that. Yeah.
Do you think that can be learned, or do you think that's either you got it or you don't? The culture part.
It can be bought. But
Interesting.
it can be bought. There's a lot of people buying it.
Of course,
There's
yeah.
a lot of people buying it, right? But I think you can suss out like what's who really is in it for real. And I think it's something that like you just have to have it. And I think you have to be able to. Yeah, I don't think you can learn it. You know what I'm saying? So you either cool or you're like not cool. You know what I mean? I'm sorry. I don't know how to, this is what it is. And it was, hey, it's a lot of non-cool people that's lit. Their money fuck too. So it's what you saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess, yeah, I'm curious. Can you share a moment just along your Toast to Life journey where you felt particularly vulnerable?
Hmm. Wow. That's a good question. That's a really good question. I will say, yeah, to be honest, I felt vulnerable at that event that you talked about, that you guys all met at. It was one of the biggest events that we've done. It was the Afrotech after party.
Give people context to that event because
Mm.
it set the tone for a lot of things.
Yeah, man. This was what I think our 4th year running the after party for Afrotech. We were one of the partners from the jump, building out a lot of the experiential on the social side. And this was year 4, I believe, if I can remember. And Morgan was like, I want everybody at one place. Cause the year before that, we had to get 2 venues because it was just the one venue couldn't hold everybody. We had to go and get a second one and do a little. And then, yeah, we found a spot and it was able to house like 3,000 plus people. So it was like 3 different rooms. We had this main room with DJ drama in it. We had an Afrobeats room with a bunch of Afrobeat DJs and artists. And then we had this other room that was like full of balloons, like the weekend room. Crazy. And then we had a patio with hookah on it. It was a whole vibe. And man, it was just like so much to bring that event together. But that's when I saw my love for creating spaces, like creating visual moments to inspire folks and to create moods and different things. And I really loved that. But the vulnerability came where it was just like, man, there was a lot of money coming into one, just the ticket sales, right? There's a lot on the line in terms of obviously wanting to do well for Morgan and show up in the right way. And like, you had brands paying us for tables and you got all the lit CEOs in there. You got Deshaun and you got, you know what I mean? You got all the homies and it's a lot of egos. It's a lot of egos. And I think the vulnerability for me was just like, I cared so much. And there was like an imposter feeling that was like always trying to take over me, was like, yo, can we live up to the moment? And it was just a vulnerable feeling. It was like, nah, I know we got this. I know we're doing it. But it's like when things are so big, you have to sometimes, based on, I think it was like past, is all going to crumble. You know what I mean? And that was like a very vulnerable moment. Like everything worked out and everything was cool. We had a really good time. But I just was like, man, that's a lot of weight. That's a lot of pressure. It's like, what do you do from here? And the vulnerability for me was also just around like the feeling of like, how do you rest? Because again, this is a side business, right? So I was doing these things, flying on a Friday, on pretty much every other weekend, leaving Airbnb or Apple, flying on a Friday, landing, doing the party on a Saturday, coming back on a Sunday, going to work on Monday. This was like a lifestyle for the good.
It was a true lifestyle brand.
It was a true thing that we were doing. And so I was like never really truly like resting. And so doing something like that after party, it was like a lot of months of planning and the vulnerability. Again, just to close it, was just like, all right, yo, the moment was so big. Now I'm so tired, but I actually don't have time to enjoy it. I have to go to work the next day.
Yeah.
And like, you know what I mean? How do I build a brand off of that? You know what I mean?
So I'm curious because like you said, you had the Morgans in the room, you had the Deshaun's in the room, you had all these brands. That was just such a big moment where obviously the expectations are high, especially with, I think that Afrotech was one of the first Afrotechs where they actually started to get into the thousands of people. That was wild. So how do you handle pressure of meeting other people's expectations while staying true to yourself?
To be honest with you, I don't stay true to myself sometimes. I think if I were to say staying true to myself, that would mean saying no more. And that would mean putting myself first in a way that protects my energy, putting measures in place that can like still make the opportunity worthwhile, still allow me to take that opportunity, but not at the expense of like my mental health or like my just sense of depletion, right? You know what I mean? And I think like over the last couple of years, now that I'm full time in it and like I've been working on it full time, it's been a different beast. But yeah, like that's a learning lesson that to your earlier question around like forgiveness, what is putting myself first when I've traditionally put others before me? And the business is the same thing. I've always put toasted life before me. I've lived my life around that or other things. And so this is just a real rap moment of just burnout culture is real. Toxic ambition is real. You know what I mean? You can just be on this cyclone of wanting more and going bigger and going faster, going harder. But to what expense if you don't have the right support or infrastructure to make sure that you can still be your best self?
Does that imposter syndrome that you spoke about, that you felt at that Afrotech event, the big one that we just talked about, does that still show up for you now? Like when you are, because now you're doing a much more events a year, and I'm sure you're doing much even bigger events now. Do you still feel that, or have you gotten more comfortable in the position you're in now?
Nah, I'm more comfortable. It doesn't show up in the same way. I think there's been a lot of things that have happened. I'm a dad. It's like it's just a different energy. And I feel like I wanted to be, I want to be the most confident version of myself. And I think after all of my reflection and things that I had gone through, I had seen areas where I didn't show up for myself the way that I felt like I could have or I should have. And I was like, look, I don't never want Mars to be like that. I want him to always be able to speak his truth. I want him to always stand proudly for who he is and love himself no matter what. And I was like, and the only way he's going to embody that is if I'm embodying it in real time because he's going to watch what I do and he's going to copy what I do. And so that alone has got me in the,
I know my body.
Yeah,
Great.
I'm in the gym head.
yeah, it is. I one thing I'm curious about is because like you did talk about not showing up for yourself, and you did just lay out this vision that you have that you want to set for Mars. But once again, like you said earlier, when it comes to visions, there's bumps along the way.
Yeah.
So have there been times where like you have fell short of that vision or in terms of showing up for Mars or even your wife now that you just got to work through that? Especially, I know one of the things you've been actually encouraging me on as well is letting go of that toxic ambition. Yeah, I'm curious if you can unpack that a little bit.
Yeah. I think it goes back to what I was saying. Yeah. Like in real time, every day is going to be different. And you're going to show up, maybe not your full self one day as you might do the next day. But the thing that I focus on is what's a value for me is being present for them. And it might not be able to be present throughout the whole day, but I want to watch the sunset with them here. Like, you know what I mean? I want to be able to be completely free on the weekends. Like, there's just certain things that I want to be able to do. And so that allows me to show up for them. But to be honest, man, like the bumps in the road is I'm still running a business. You know what I mean? Riley, we working on something.
Yeah.
I still have feelings like, man, I'm still him. I'm still me. You know what I mean? But like when you have like other responsibilities now, like I feel further removed from the hustle that I was so addicted to. And so what that creates is like this feeling of FOMO in a weird way, where it's just, man, I can't just dive back into the hustle culture the way that I want to. So I have to be more methodical. And so how that shows up to answer your question is like mood swings. And so sometimes I'm not as pleasant around my wife, or I have to fake my energy with Mars so that he doesn't internalize daddy not thinking that they don't know. They have no logic or reasoning. And so I'm not looking at him and being happy, or I'm looking at my phone because I'm like trying to handle something. Like I have to be mindful of that and just be like, all right, look, I'm going to be in my mood. I'm going to be upset. I'm going to curse out whoever I need to curse out at work to do. But like in these moments right now, it's just, man, look, anything can happen. I don't want to look back and think that I wasn't there or wasn't present. You know what I mean? That weighs a lot on me more than anything else. I just want him to be, I want him to be good.
Yeah. I guess another question that I got is just even hearing you talk about those moments where you don't have the energy, you still choose to show up. Like, and I even know over the last few years, you've been thousands of miles from the places where you've been hosting events. And there's probably been times where you did not want to show up, but you did. And so typically when those moments present a lot of people, they don't have the courage to lean in and do the things that they know they should do, but they don't want to.
Mhm.
And I'm curious, like, how do you practice courage in your personal life, but also your professional life as well?
Yeah, it starts with the working out, man, and the meditation. You got to build a practice that you feel like you can stick with. You know what I mean? And
Mm.
even if it's couple minutes in the day, I think just being able to show up for yourself just breeds a level of confidence, especially when you start to notice results. So that's why the gym was big for me, because I was like, man, I ain't never been this dedicated, but I was like, I want to do it.
Are
And
you still
so
doing 2 days?
I'm not doing 2 a days as much. I'm not doing two.
Oh, you was aggressive with it.
He was different, bro.
I was doing too much. I was doing too much. I chilled out, but the only 2 a days I'll do jump rope and running, and then I'll hit the gym. But shoot, yeah, the courage for me is just showing up for myself. And it goes back to what you were saying earlier, or the question that you asked me earlier was like, I'm used to putting everything before myself,
Mhm.
including self-care.
Mm.
And so now that that's a main, I have to go to if I don't do nothing else, I need to eat my jerk chicken. I need to have my protein shake in the day, and I need to hit the gym or do some sort of like workout or stretch or something that is like making my body feel invigorated. You know what I mean? And now I take cold showers, which is a game changer
In the mornings?
in the mornings. I do it in the afternoon, then I do it at night. I'll start with warm, and then I'll turn that thing off full cold blast and just boom, crazy. It's wild. It's wild.
Man.
Yeah, that helps my courage, man, because just knowing that I did it and I showed up sets the tone and lets me know that everything else is just a game.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
So, as closing it out in terms of the journey of Toasted Life, as that continues to grow, what's the plan for the future, man? It's been a 10-year journey so far. What does the next 10 years look like to you, or even beyond? What does the future look like?
Yeah, man, that's a good question. We've been teetering on a lot of different things we've been looking at. So going back to what Brylan and I talk a lot about around distribution. Like I've always been like a huge Nipsey fan. Yeah. One thing Nipsey always talked about was like vertically integrated. Amazon's a vertically integrated business. A lot of the businesses do it really well where it just control all their costs and they can control their own destiny, right? And I'm really into that. I've been really trying to figure out how to look at distribution since all of these brands pay us to produce their events or they want to sponsor our events for visibility. It's just, how do we distribute something that we own? You know what I mean? So been on that journey trying to identify like what that opportunity could be where we can continue to give our community, our audience opportunities to engage in different ways. We've been looking at like the hospitality industry. We've been looking at the beverage industry. Could be very interesting. Hello. And just different things that like I think can take us to a new plateau without disrupting like what Toasted Life has been, but leveraging its power in the way that other brands might have seen us as a valuable resource. Yeah, just continuing to also learn from our mistakes.
Mm.
I think that's been the main thing. I think a lot of people try to just go too fast and go into the abyss without having the infrastructure to do so. And I think that's where things unravel and that's where tensions flare. And we've learned that even though it's been me and Matt predominantly running the helm, we learned the value of, hey, we don't actually have to do everything ourselves.
Mm.
We can now hire for certain roles that can be more operationally minded than we are even are. We don't even like operations, but there's some people out there that love operations. Like they just think that way, like Brylan.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know, man. Brylan mind work different. He's from there now, but his mind work real different. But yeah, just being able to look at different things like that. Also scaling down in terms of like really focusing, trimming the fat a little bit. Just, hey, what are the things that are really going to get us to that North Star and then free us up so we can like really explore those other areas. And we built an internal agency inside the business. So we actually have an agency operations person. And what this allows us to do is essentially like work on behalf of clients. So instead of needing to be a Toasted Life event, we can do white label experiences. So they can essentially buy our flair and then we can also allow them to use the Toasted Life name, obviously for an added charge, but that's been allowing us to do a lot of versatile things where Toasted Life might not be for every brand. They might not need our brand recognition. They might not want that because of internal politics. Whoever knows. So
Mhm.
we created this opportunity for us to essentially have another Swiss Army blade where we work with these partners to be like, oh, it's not just about sponsoring our party. We can also produce the experience, your whole experience for you and create deeper brand engagement for what you're trying to do. Yeah. I know that was a lot, but it's for me, it's just really honing in on our process for what our core
Mhm.
business has been, continuing to be consistent with that, and then finding those other avenues to monetize and grow the business in a different way.
Not just, I know you just said that was a lot, but that was really good. Just because, once again, thinking about where you started and where you are today,
Yeah.
the details are crazy, bro. Like, even hearing you speak, yeah, I would say extremely technical and operational around like how you're thinking about the minute things of your business. You know what I mean? Like, that's extremely inspirational because once again, this started off as a conversation on a bench at Jack London, bro. I say all that to say, looking back, if you, yeah, I think this is a moment for you to just give your flowers, right? If you were to finish these two statements, how would you finish them? The first one being, I'm proud that and the second one being, I'm proud that we.
Mm, mm. Um, I'm proud that I'm still in the game.
Mm.
Actually, no. Like,
This your time to talk your talk.
listen, man, it's been a lot of psychological warfare. You know what I mean? The game is tumultuous. I'm not gonna hold you. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
It's a lot of different things, a lot of things in the early days that I really appreciated and really helped us grow. And I'm really proud that I've been able to, one, capitalize off of those opportunities and those experiences, and but also learn from really learn and not just learn, but learn and address and correct or pivot or think differently or just
Mm.
apply. And I'm proud of my ability to be able to do that and then communicate that to not just Matt, but the team. And it's like, just, I don't know, I think I've become sharper. So I'm proud for being sharper through all of the relationships, the changes, the difficulties, the shit I did wrong, all of it. Right. I'm proud that I'm applying it and not just, man, I fucked up. You know what I mean? Or that didn't go right. Or we could have done this. Or just, nah, it ain't none of that. You gotta just keep rolling. And so I'll say I'm proud about that. And then what was the second one about we?
I'm proud that we.
I'm proud that we have made it to 10 years, net positive, cash flow positive,
Talk your talk.
Hey.
right? I'm glad that my co-founder and I are still together.
Talk your talk.
That is a feat in itself. Like it's
Oh yeah.
that's really hard to do. You know what I mean? I'm proud that we are doing this with families because we now are in new life stages, right? And I'm glad that we're navigating it and we're doing it. And I'm proud that I'm proud that we have a plan.
Mm.
Yeah.
Incredible, bro. That's good. That's good. That's beautiful, man. I don't know, man. That's a good way to end it. I don't have anything else, bro. Rylan, you got something else?
Nah, man, I don't. This was a beautiful conversation, man. Extremely insightful. I just got this new podcast app, bro. I think I shared it with you, Warren. I think you shared it with both y'all, but
Yep.
yeah, I'm about to be snippy. A lot of different insights, bro. So
Okay.
we appreciate you, man.
Absolutely. Absolutely, man. I'm glad it was, I'm honored, honestly, and I'm really appreciative that y'all thought about me to one, be the first.
Now you set the tone. You set the tone.
Okay. I wanted to just come correct. You know what I mean? I just wanted to do this. And then Rylan got high standards, right? And so it's like,
Oh,
I
yeah.
have to tell a certain way or I'm going to hear about it. You know? So I feel like, that's why I was like, let me see. He need to send me, what are we talking about today?
Yeah.
Hey, I'm not gonna cap to you. Kudos to my boy Dre here. Yeah, Dre really took the lead on a lot of those questions, bro. And yeah, I think that's a testament to just his curiosity and just the inspiration and that you've left many people with. Not only us here having this conversation, but I'm sure many of the listeners and many people out there as well. So yeah, man.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Thank you, Dre.
Yeah, man. Appreciate your time, bro.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, man. I'll catch y'all.
All right,
All
bro.
right, King.